Alright, what's up guys? Mason the Brock Henderson, and this is going to be a late night review of Elementary. I know this is late, but like I said, my Bones reviews, I've been busy the past couple days, so I didn't get to see them live, and then had to wait before I could finally watch them. So yeah. Not a lot of people watch my reviews right now, so I'm apologizing to the few people that do. Anyway. But yeah, this is episode 5, and once again, the one thing that I love about Elementary, the case is really good. Stuff going on the outside is interesting as well, but I mean, the cases are always really interesting. You always wonder what's going on, and they're not ever goofy cases. Like, that's been the one thing that irks me about Bones right now, is that the cases right now are so stupid, and people are killing over the dumbest things, and it's just, this is not real life. Elementary, yeah, the cases are kind of complex, and it's just like, does this stuff happen in real life? But it still feels real. It feels like, okay, I could see somebody killing over this stuff. But there's a guy found dead, and based on certain things, like a spade sticking out of his chest, and stuff. I think they found stuff under his fingernails, but they were able to find out he was an archaeologist. Find out from that they find where he worked. They find his girlfriend, talk to her about stuff. Like I said in a previous review, I love how they're just constantly following like a logical thread. Like they're following this one piece of logic, and then it hits kind of a blockade, and it's just like, okay, so maybe we were looking at this from the wrong angle. So they go back to where they started, look at it from a different angle, take that line of logic, which leads them here, which looks like it's a dead end, but then they realize, oh, wait a minute, it's not a dead end. And they do that a lot, but it's constantly changing. It's keeping me on my toes. Like, I think I've got it figured out, and then all of a sudden, piece of information comes in. It's just like, oh, that changes the game. I don't know what's going on now. And then, another piece of information comes in. It's like, oh, so I was almost right. It's close. Whereas, I'm just going to use Bones as an example because it's the best example I've got right now for how not to do crime shows. Basically, they get a lead, they follow it to this person, question them, follow it to this person, question them, follow it to this person, question them, and then the last person they question is almost always the bad guy. That's the same formula they do. In Elementary, sometimes it'll be the first person they question, sometimes it'll be somebody that didn't question at all, sometimes it'll be somebody that didn't even meet. In this one, they're following these old games that are worth like billions of dollars at this point. And so, they're following this trail, trying to find out, did somebody else find them? Did they steal it from them? And, they find out this one guy has all the games, and he was making up this myth that the games were out there somewhere, that they were, that he was actually helping the guy dig for them because he wanted to keep that myth alive. And so it's like, okay, so he didn't find the games then. So it wasn't about the games. Maybe he found something else when he was digging. It's like, okay, so we're following that line of logic. It leads to, this stuff that happened at the property that he was digging at. Stuff that happened there before. They question the owner. The owner talks about, certain things, and then they find out that this guy, I can't remember the details now because it's late. I'm tired. But I was following it while I was watching it, if that makes sense. But afterwards, I'm just like, what happened again? But, they find out that this guy had covered up some stuff in the past on other properties, and the victim, had dug up some toxic waste and confronted him about it. And at first it was like, he admitted to removing the barrels, but that was it. And so it even has an alibi. It's like, so wait, he wasn't the bad guy? And then, Sherlock is like frustrated trying to think, and Watson comes in with the answer that, likely he had somebody to help him. And so they do end up finding the guy, and they showed him at the beginning like burning down the house, um, which at first it was just like, so wait, you murder the guy, and then you burn it to make it look like it was a gas leak that led to a fire, but you don't take the spade out? Like, everybody's gonna know that you murdered, but that wasn't the point. And I love how they did that, because I was like, really, like, what? You're trying to cover up a murder and you don't take the murder weapon out? But I mean, later it's like, okay, so that's why it wasn't trying to cover up a murder. Uh, the murder actually happened in the middle of what they're trying to do, which is pretty much like a fraud of sorts, I think, where they make it look like it's a gas leak and that the building standards aren't up to what they were, and then the guy walked in on it, and so they catch the guy that was causing the fire. He flips on the main bad guy that was doing all this like fraudulent stuff, and so that's the case. And it's just it's nothing like I think about some of the classic Sherlock Holmes cases. It's nothing like that. Like those, you think about like the Hounds of Baskerville or the Fall of whatever the Fall of the House of whatever. I can't remember the name now. But you think about like the classic cases written by Sir Conan Doyle. Why can't I? I'm having a lot of trouble with names tonight. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I'm tired. But you think about the cases that he wrote back then. Those are like crazy, intense. Just who would ever think of these type of cases? Those were the cases he wrote. These cases in Elementary are like they're all miniature versions of those stories. That's one thing that I really enjoy about the show is that you think about Sherlock Holmes. He's only been done movie form with Robert Downey Jr. And then even the BBC version Sherlock with Benedict Cumberbatch. Even that feels kind of like a movie. I mean, it's an hour and a half for most of those episodes, and so it's like they have these more drawn out cases, whereas Elementary it's an hour long. He's got more to deal with as far he's got to deal with the police, he's got to deal with the fact that he's trying to sober up, he's got to deal with his father now, he's got to deal with his relationship with Joan, and training her at first, and now they're partners and dealing with that, and then he's got to deal with the fact that Irene turned out to be Jane Moriarty, and it's just so the love of his life is actually his arch nemesis, and he's got a lot of stuff to deal with on the outside of all of these cases. We're 4 episodes in, they're still having to come up with new original cases. And yeah, some of them are similar in their premise, I guess. Like this thing leads to this thing. Some of them are similar in the way they're set up. But the fact that we're 4 seasons in, and they're still giving us original ideas of cases, and they're still keeping the cases interesting, I like that. The only other show that really did that, in my opinion, was Monk. I don't know if you watched the show or not, but it's this guy who's extremely OCD, and they were able to keep it interesting all the way. I think they had 9 seasons. Maybe it was 8. I think it was 9 because I remember everybody saying, "Why not have a 10th season to make it even so Monk would like it?" This was back when I was younger, so they're on Netflix now. I feel like going and watching them again. Anyway, getting sidetracked. But they kept it interesting all the way through the 9 seasons, and it wasn't just the cases were interesting. The idea of the cases were interesting too. Like there were some cases that were actually fairly easy for him to solve, but he had to overcome something with his OCD. Like there's one case that he could have solved easily, but because the sanitation workers in wherever were they in San Francisco? I think so. But the sanitation workers went on strike, so the streets were filled with trash, which just drove him insane to the point where like he accused Alice Cooper of being the bad guy. And that was funny. That was fun stuff. Elementary's kind of done the same thing, is that even if the cases are similar, there's a new idea behind it. Even if this case, like the way this case was set up, the way they solved the case, even if it has been done before, it's a new idea to this case, and there's something different. The guy, it looked like he was caught, and all of a sudden he has an alibi, but it's only because he had somebody helping him. Like, you almost got away. You almost got away with it. But anyway, I mean, I may also be romanticizing it a bit because it's on the same night as Bones, and I'm really frustrated with Bones right now, so it's like Bones and Elementary, but because Bones is so far down, Elementary feels like it's up here. I don't know. But the cases are always just so solid, and I always enjoy watching them. I'm never bored, um, and that is something to be said because to make Sherlock Holmes interesting, you have to have good cases. The stuff on the outside, there can always be good stuff on the outside, but the inside, the cases, that's what matters if you're making a Sherlock Holmes show. So I'm glad that they're still doing that well. On the outside, though, I'm just going to talk about this really quick. The stuff with Alfredo is very interesting. I'm curious to see where they're taking this. Alfredo's finally back after everything that happened with Oscar Rankin at the end of last season that led to Sherlock relapsing. And at the beginning, it kind of feels like, maybe Sherlock is avoiding him because he's blaming himself for what happened. But then, Sherlock, after he hears that Alfredo came to visit and Joan tells him, he does seek Alfredo out and kind of, tells him how it is, that he's just been busy. He's been trying to avoid past faces because it reminds him of that pain. It reminds him of the relapse. So he's like, I can't have you as my sponsor anymore because of that. But it doesn't mean it should affect our friendship. So, I like that. I think it's nice to see that he's not just avoiding him for like stupid reasons. And even Alfredo says, I told you before that. No, I think actually Sherlock says that you told me that. Who said it? I think it was Alfredo. I'm gonna go back and forth forever. One of them says that it was said before that you should be selfish when it comes to your sobriety. Like be selfish in your decisions. If it's going to help your sobriety, do what's right for you. I'm pretty sure it was Alfredo because it's like, I understand. Something like that. And so it's nice to see that. It's nice to see that it's not going the cliche route where he's blaming himself and can't get over it. He really is trying to move on. And also the fact that he actually is going to meetings, because I was worried he was going to be like, he's actually been skipping out and not going to meetings. I was going to be like, oh, this is dumb. I've seen it before. But no, they're sticking to their guns, and I like that. But it kind of has a little twist at the end because Sherlock's at one of these meetings and he sees these donuts that Alfredo had brought they had like a breakfast, and he kind of realizes that he's been going to some extra meetings as well. And so he confronts Alfredo and he's like, look, if you've been going through something, you need to tell me about it. And Alfredo, of course, is saying, look, you just got your 30-day chip for being sober. I don't want to confront you with my problems. And Sherlock's like, this is going to help me to help you. And so I like the fact that their friendship, it seemed like it was hitting a rough spot, but through that rough spot, the friendship actually got stronger. That's real life. That is real life in a nutshell. Like, you go through tough times with these people that are close to you. If you make it through those tough times, that relationship becomes stronger, whether it's your friends or your girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, wife, whatever it is. I mean, that does happen a lot in real life, where you just hit this hump and you're just like, this is never going to end. It does end, and the relationship, the bond is so much stronger. And I love the fact that this happened. It was needed. It really was, because Alfredo, he's kind of been a fringe character. I like the fact that he's becoming a bit more central so far. Just near the end of last season, obviously, with what happened with Oscar, and now he's becoming even more central into the show. So yeah, I really liked how that was done. So good case, good relationship stuff on the outside, good friendship stuff on the outside. Nothing this time with Sherlock's dad, but I'm okay with that. I don't want them to overdo it with Sherlock's dad, because then it's going to be like, okay, enough about him. I get it. He's a bad dude. So I like the fact that they took a step back this week and said, okay, not this week. Maybe we'll see him again next week, but I prefer to not get overdone with Sherlock's dad. But yeah, so it's my opinion. Really enjoyed this episode. What did you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you want to see me do Sherlock voice. Nah, that won't get any people. Just like and subscribe if you enjoy Elementary and want to see more reviews like this. I'm gonna go to sleep now. I'm tired. So I'll see you at the next review. Peace out.